Hey, man, it's been a minute since I've heard this song. Oh, my goodness gracious. Ah, welcome to my 2 cents.
Two of them.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, I'm your girl, Pastor Steph.
Shantice.
And I'm Ainsley Harris, that Brooklyn guy. What up, what up, what up?
All right. How y'all been? It's been a minute since we've been together here.
Yeah, it has been. It seemed like forever. Happy New Year.
Oh, man, yo, that really indicates how long it's been. Yeah, since 2024. Wow. Well, we had all kind of stuff going on. It's mishmash here, mishmash there. And just happy to be able to get together one more time. If you're in the room, let me remind you to check in and say, hey, everybody. We got our check-in from our girl, Kenny. Good morning, Kenny. Oh, good morning. I'm so accustomed to saying good morning to Kenny from It's Due Time that I automatically said, hey, Kenny, good evening. So happy that you're able to join us. Now, we have a lot of catching up to do. So here's the deal. So I'm gonna tell what really happened on my end. Well, me and Shantice end. Brother Ainsley, he's got his own, stuff going on.
I really do.
We normally, last year we were able to watch all of the different movies and things like that based on the streaming ability, because we didn't all go to the movies and watch these things, and we focused last year on the Writers Guild Awards. So this year we were all prepared to hit like several award shows and all of that kind of stuff, and lo and behold, before we knew it, the Golden Globes was like January 5th or something, 3rd or something like that. Yo, we didn't even have a chance to get into the new year before they started putting up the shows. Well, here was the problem. I don't know about where you live, but here in New York, they closed all of our local movie theaters. And they weren't garbage, they weren't trash, but because I guess, all of the streaming services and things like that, they were really losing a lot of money. Let's be honest. People weren't going to the movies the way they used to. So we lost the ability to really kind of go to the movies to check out a lot of these movies that were being nominated. Not only that, there was a delay on who was nominated. Quite a few of them had a delay on who was being nominated. So the Golden Globes posted their nominees, and when we looked, first of all, we were on top of the date anyway, so we didn't have enough time to prepare and then come back and review with you guys. And then on top of that, it wasn't being streamed anywhere. So we missed that. So we kind of hung around and we waited for a couple of other movie award shows, and it was the same thing. A lot of these movies that they're nominating are not streaming, and again, we don't have that easy accessibility to go watch the movies here in New York. We're Shantice and I, we're based in New York, and we don't have the ability to run out and go to the movies the way we used to anymore. So here we are. We had the one that was furthest away, which was the Oscars, and we're going to try to hit up as many of these movies as we can. And yet, even within weeks of the Oscars airing, there are still a lot of the movies that are not streaming. And now we've lost the ability to even be able to go watch them in the movie theaters because they're not in the movie theaters anymore. So we're going to do the best that we can because we want to keep up with these things. We want to hang out with all of the people who look at all the award shows. And we really want to see whether they're diverse or not. Is there some level of diversity? Is it all on one side of the fence? And anybody that listens to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph understands what I say. What I mean when I say, is it on the other side of the fence or is it here? Is it brown and, black people's movies? And if you hung out with us in 2024, we did quite a few movies and TV shows. So we want to see if the movies and TV shows that we were watching and that we said either click it or kick it actually made it to the Oscars. So that's just pretty much the what's been going on in a nutshell. So we had several movies that were being nominated, and we chose a few of the categories because certain categories we're just not interested in. Plain and simple as that. And here we are. So hey there, hey there, hey
Here
there.
we be.
But before we go any further, we got to give it to the girl who keeps us moving, rolling, and shaking on YouTube, A Closer Walk Christian Talk Show, as well as Coach for Christian Life Facebook Live. So let's say a hearty hey to Anika. Hey, girl.
Yeah, girl. Hey, Nika.
Yeah,
Can't
how
do it
are
without
you?
you, girl. What's up? What's
That's
up?
right. Could not. So we got to check in from our girl, Kenny. We got to check in from Pastor KL. You could check out Pastor KL on It's Due Time with Pastor Steph week mornings right here. Yeah, we're live.
What up, bro?
On Facebook and YouTube now. So thank you so much for joining us. So we are going to review 3 movies tonight, and we are starting with Emilia Perez. Now, Emilia Perez is a Netflix movie. So that was one reason why we got access to Emilia Perez. And I want to read to you the synopsis. A Mexican lawyer is offered an unusual job to help a notorious cartel boss retire and transition into living as a woman, fulfilling a long-held desire. Now, the cast was pretty decent. We had Zoe Saldana, who is hitting up the lead role as the lawyer, the attorney that they're referencing in the description. We have Carla Sofia Gascon, who's playing Emilia Perez. We have our girl Selena Gomez, who's playing Jesse Monte. And we have Edgar Ramirez, who's playing, Gustavo Brone. So we've got a couple of familiar faces up in there. So, in our normal my 2 cents manner, we're going to start off with the highlights of Emilia Perez. It was a very interesting movie. Kind of caught me off guard with a couple of things. So we're going to give it to ladies first since it's been a minute. Shantice, what you got for Emilia Perez? Highlights, good things.
There was some action in it towards the end. It almost became
talk about the end yet.
Well, there was some
highlight in all the 2 hours of the movie.
You asked for my highlights. My highlights was the 2.5 minutes of action. It was an interesting plot to now have this successful drug kingpin want to become a woman. That was like, I would have never expected that. And this is why I personally don't like to read the synopsis of the movie before I watch it, because I don't like to kind of prepare myself for what's about to happen a lot of the times. And it kind of takes away from me being able to properly judge like the script and, the writing, I should say, I'm sorry. But that really came out of nowhere. So I would say those are the highlights for me. The fact that the successful drug kingpin now wants to become a woman. Very interesting turn in events prior to him making that request to the lawyer, and the 2.5 minutes of action that took place, the action scene that took place in the movie.
Wow. Okay. Well, my brother Ainsley, I surely hope you got some other conversation for this movie, because having watched it myself, there's some other stuff that, that we can highlight.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. First of all, I got to say, I started watching Conclave first, right? I know we ain't talking there yet, but the version I started watching wasn't in English, right? And so I'm watching this thing. I don't know what's going on, but for 2 hours, keep falling asleep on it, right? So finally, I found there was an English version for that. Okay, after so many times, started watching this. I was starting watching the Spanish version. So I'm like, I can't go through this again of not knowing what's going on. Sitting there, what So I finally found there was an English version, but it was English version with description. So in other words, they're talking in English, but the narrator would tell you stuff like, "Oh, the sunrise is coming up. Do you see the city? She puts her bag on the table." Like I'm watching it, like I can't see what's happening. I don't need somebody to narrate to me what's actually what I'm seeing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not blind. This ain't an audio book. You know what I'm saying? So I don't get the reason for that. Just give me straight English without all the extra stuff.
Okay.
So
okay.
now my thought on this movie. To me, this movie it's like a mixture of a John Gotti and a Bruce Jenner mixed with Brokeback Mountain, directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh
All
my
right.
goodness gracious!
You got it all. You got it all right. You got it all right there.
Oh,
I mean, a gangster now wants to turn to a woman and stuff like that. All right, and go through all these changes and stuff like that. So it's interesting, but I gotta give it credit for, even though I didn't listen to the Spanish, but the music, how I was turned into a musical, how that was really done. That was very interesting, and it had to be very strategic, or not has normally how music is done in film and whatnot. It was I think it was very strategic, very, very well done, even though I can understand what they were saying in Spanish, but very, very done well. Now, so it was an interesting premise and stuff like that. There were some interesting things like, all right, so now, the drug dealer, now as he becomes a woman, his plan is to set his family up away, and he's gonna live his life as a woman, right? But then no, he just can't live well enough for long. Now he got to have his children and his family involved with him. This is why I get this what gets people. You gotta wait with a little bit is the greed,
Right.
trying to go back for more,
Right.
and that causes the whole thing. And so I'm like, dog, here we go. Here come some problems. And
Right.
now it gets interesting. One interesting scene was when, as the aunt now, you're gonna ask your wife, did she cheat on her husband? I was like,
what?
man,
Acting like a
Going
woman
there.
for real. Acting like a female for real.
Yeah.
I mean,
for real.
we
Yeah.
know you do not ask questions you don't really want to know the truth
That's right. That's right, Ace. That's right.
to. So it's like, what do you expect or whatnot? So many of those things, and I'm like, I'm surprised that the only part didn't make too much sense. I mean, all right, you all of a sudden you this wealthy woman helping certain people, and I'm like, ain't nobody really investigate who you really are? How did you get your money and stuff like that? I thought that was a little kind of, come on now. And but it was an interesting movie. I'm like Shantice, the real action part really came at the end. I was like, okay, all right, let's see what's gonna happen here.
And then
Who
the
gonna die?
credit came.
Who gonna get shot? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it was one of the movies that's kind of it's just a totally different premise of a movie that you really don't see, and so that kind of gets you through that ride of him being the main Emilia. And here's another thing. So I guess it's like another Bruce Jenner situation. So now you're a man, you genetically born a man, right? It's to a woman, but now you want to have a lesbian affair with another woman.
What? in the world is going on?
So I mean, I don't really get into the details of it, but I don't know what his operation was. That did my man cut his his stuff off, or I mean, I don't know. I'm like, okay, but main thing now, you was born a man, now a woman, now attracted to another woman. I don't get it. I ain't trying to know about it, but I'm like, okay.
You don't want to understand it, Ainsley. You don't want to understand the psyche of switching your sex to then be with the opposite sex anyway.
Nah, girl, that's all right. That's all right. Where my Bible at?
Oh my goodness.
I pray for them. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, this here was an extremely interesting movie. When I started looking at it, and it had Zoe Saldana singing, I was like, oh no. Oh Lord, we gotta go through this. And I was like, I can't. I can't live through this. And I wasn't a fan of the music initially. But the premise kind of caught my attention. There's this drug dealer, like Shanti said, this big drug cartel. He's supposed to be this huge drug man. We ain't talking about no little local, but he's supposed to be the man.
Right.
The man, yeah.
He's married.
There ain't no corner boy.
Right. Married with children. He has 2 boys. And I kept thinking one of the little boys was a girl. So I was already confused.
Me too. That too. Yeah.
And what happens is he hires Zoe Saldana to help him make this transition. He wants to have a sex change. He's not talking about just kind of, living a secret life. He wants to go all the way.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to have this complete sex change, and he wants to live his life freely. So he loves his family, he loves his wife, loves her children dearly, but he's got this urge to live this life because he's been feeling like this since he was younger. So that's what he does. But what he does is he pretends like he's killed so that they would forget him. So that's his way of getting away. So he has Zoe Saldana take his family away. He then has this announcement on TV that he was killed because he supposedly had enemies that was after him, and they caught up with him and they killed him. So the family learns to live without him. Well, they fast track to 4 years later, and Emilia Perez, he's now Emilia Perez, he hunts down Zoe Saldana, who's kind of in the limelight because she's some big lawyer, she's some big attorney, and he lets her know that he's tried to live his life, away from his, family. He can live without the wife technically, but he can't live without his children. So he arranges to have her set up to bring the family to him, and he's supposed to be some big woman. So when Ainsley says, we don't know how, she got her money, blah, blah, blah. This could have happened easily in the 4 years. They could have figured out how she got her money. She's, supposedly helping the community, all this kind of stuff. She's kind of well known. And thus the complication, like Ainsley said, because if you went through all this meticulous planning to pretend like you were dead and all of this kind of stuff, listen, you're going to have to live without this family.
Right.
So, that was the biggest mistake he could have ever made, because he begins to get possessive, and he begins to, he treats the kids like it's his kids. He speaks to the wife as though it's his kids, and she's like, yo, these are my kids. He's supposed to be playing like some aunt of
the drug dealer's sister. Right. All right, the aunt.
Right. So that's how. And now, needless to say, he looks nothing like he did when he was a male. They really chose a different look. Nothing. At one point, she just said something about his eyes. The eyes look the same or whatever. So he really complicates this thing when he brings the family. And now, like they said, he now gets involved with a woman in the community because, here's the funny part. So he kills all these people while he's this big drug cartel guy, right? So now later, they now start to find the bodies. of the people he's not only killed, but he didn't buried somewhere. And they now start digging up all these bodies. And now he's feeling kind of bad after what he did. So now he ends up being connected with one of the women whose husband he's killed in his former life. Okay.
That's who that lady was? That he was
Yes.
that she was
Yeah.
dealing with?
Yes.
Mhm.
He had killed, she came to identify the body.
Mhm.
Remember, they were identifying the bodies of these people who had been buried. And when
Mm.
she got there, she had this knife and she was going to kill him because he had like pretty much tortured her. It was domestic violence and all kinds of things. But he ends up somehow having an affair with her, which is the weirdest thing. I'm with y'all. It's like, how do you get there? How do we get here?
Yeah, because she pulled out the
So-
knife like, yeah, I had a knife to kill this man. And she pulled out her gun like, yeah, I'm with you too. I could do this. Like,
So
I'm about
it's
this
just-
life right here.
Right. Yeah, so it's like this weird scenario, but there's all throughout the movie, it's a musical. So you see Zoe Saldana singing. Everybody ends up singing, in this movie. Every single individual ends up with a song. And you know what it reminded me of? A gospel musical play where you'll be right in the middle of a line and then all of a sudden you just bust up in a song.
And it's like,
And-
wait, what?
Yeah, it was like so weird. And
Yeah.
I could not figure out for the longest time watching this movie, why was this nominated for an Oscar? Really? And then after I really got into the plot, I then saw why it was nominated for an Oscar. Because the actual storyline, and Anika says sounds very all over the place. It's actually not. It's actually not. You just got to pay attention to the movie because it's not all over the place. It has a lot of moving pieces. It becomes intricate because of what he does.
Mhm.
That one move of bringing his family to live with him really complicates things.
Mhm.
And now it becomes a horse of an entirely different color, opposed to you just getting your little sex change, pretending like you're dead, and now living your life. That would have been a whole lot simpler.
Yes.
But the worst part about it is, wait. The wife, remember, she starts, not only did he ask had she cheated, but she was cheating with one of his right-hand men.
Yes.
While
Mhm.
she was so while he was the man, she was cheating with his boy. And then after a while, when they go to live with the sister, which is really the man, the drug cartel guy, she picks up this relationship with the guy. And I'm saying to myself, oh my God, she's actually gonna be cheating. And he's right here. She doesn't even realize that he's right here.
Mhm.
And in all of that, he still never realizes, right, that was his boy.
Yep.
He never picks up on that, right?
That she was dating the friend.
Right.
I think he did because
He did. I believe he did.
Yeah, he got
He
upset because she was dealing with someone else, and he started calling her a whore and this, that, and the third, and blah 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 blah. And she got upset because it was like, where's all this coming from? Like, why you feel some type of ways? I think he did know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember him talking, being upset, but I couldn't catch whether he knew that she was cheating with his boy. Because wouldn't he have killed him?
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
he was too focused on becoming a woman. I can't.
Yeah,
I can't
he
fathom
didn't know
more
it then.
bodies.
He
Yeah,
didn't know it
I don't
then.
see. Okay, because I don't see him letting this guy live at all. All right, so Shantice, you could go ahead to fast track to the other part that you were talking about, and then Ainsley, you could pick that up. So I done brought y'all up to speed. I done really brought y'all up to speed.
What, to the 2.5 minutes of action? Pastor Steph started watching it. and I sat down for like a good maybe 30 minutes, and it was in the beginning, and that's when like it was the height of the music, and I was just sitting there looking like, we're supposed to watch this. I started feeling like Oppenheimer, and I was like, all right. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this, because it really, and because it wasn't, I didn't realize that I didn't miss too much in the beginning, because I had just sat down, but I started feeling like how Anika felt. I was like, what is this? The singing, and the singing is in Spanish. I'm supposed to be not only reading the subtitles, now I gotta read on beat, and like this is too much. This is too much. Like what's happening? We don't know Zoe Saldana to be no entertainer in that aspect, you know.
Right.
But when I sat and watched it by myself and watched it from the very beginning, and understood her character, and continue to watch it. I did fall asleep on it a few times, like Oppenheimer. I kept having to go back and rewind and watch that same part over and over and over, but it made a tad bit more sense. But again, most of the action was in the end during the high speed chase, where then the transgender ex-drug kingpin dies, the wife dies, and now the kids are left with the lawyer. It's like, you might as well just handed her to the lawyer in the beginning.
In the beginning.
I'd have been mad if I done went through all this. I done went out scoping out different hospitals and different countries and locations and all that, only for you to die and the wife to die, and I end up, not even for him to die, because as it was stated, he was supposed to be out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
But for the wife to die, and now I end up with these children. And it was so funny, because when he made the request to in the restaurant, it was hilarious, because she didn't realize, Zoe Saldana didn't realize she was speaking to him,
right,
until he said something. So he said, I'm with him across the table, and then for whatever reason, it made it click. And then when he made the request to see his family, she was like, you're bugged. And then when she actually brought the kids and the wife to the house, and the way he was grabbing up on the kids and kissing them, she was looking like, hello, you do realize you
right,
like technically these are your distant niece and nephew. Why are you kissing them as if you're their parent who thought you would never see them again? Like, what are you doing? So that was really funny. But yeah, it was it was just like, what is happening here? Like, what are they doing? It was just so many. And then when the wife finds out that it's really him, in the end, right before they die, I don't know if that could have been no Kodak moment for me. I don't know. I don't know if I'd have been sitting there crying, holding him. You'd have been dying, and I'm like, when did all this take place? When did you have time to grow breasts, get a different genital? And he would have been looking at me like, hello, I'm dying. Okay, wait, first come first. When did you have? And then now you think about all the times you've been confiding in this person or talking to this person. Like, that's how a woman is. You could be on your last breath coughing up blood. They gonna make sure they get their answers before you die.
Right.
No, I need to know, because yes, I love the Lord and he's amazing and all that, but I need to know from you what was going on. So yeah, it was, oh my gosh, it was a mess. It was a mess. It was a mess.
All right, Ainsley, fast track, to the latter part of the movie.
Yeah, I almost forgot, because I made a note. Emilia did he? I think she found out just she was, because she's told him she's getting married. And remember, he went and he went on a raid, and so much so, after all that, the gangster was surprised when she actually left.
Right,
with the kids
right,
and whatnot. What you think gonna happen? You just the aunt.
Right. When you behave like that, you didn't think you were gonna chase her off. Like you said, you're supposed to be just
you're gonna get physical. Yeah, come on now.
Right.
Exactly. And then how he tells Shanti, how at the end, how he kind of tells her, do you remember such and such and stuff they did when they was husband and wife? And I'm like, to me, in that response, I would be like, yo, hold up. How you know that? But if after the first question, first or two, when you kept saying different things that only she would know, it'd be like,
Right,
yo,
right,
hold up.
right,
Stop the
right,
dying and stop the bullet thing. Stop the
For
bleeding.
real. For
Yo,
real.
right,
what
right.
going on here? How long you been planning this? You gotta tell me something. You know. Uh, that was just like kind of crazy. And then for the kids, and of course, in reality, who suffers the worst, the most,
Right,
it's the kids.
right.
Now,
Mhm.
you know, and actually I was almost so okay. Something that almost didn't make sense because at the end they even had the monument of Emilia, and with her, I thought it was her hand. Remember she got the fingers cut off.
Right.
And at the end, they had the monument. It looked like the hand, the fingers were cut off. I'm like, how they
Oh,
know
I
that?
missed that part.
Huh?
Oh, true, true.
Yeah, I'm like, come on. I'm like,
The way she died. You're right. How would you know?
right, when they kidnap, they cut
Wow.
off the fingers, say, yo, listen, like
Right,
this,
right.
and stuff like that. So remember, they had the statue, the same fingers, it seemed like it was cut off. I'm like,
Wow, I didn't even catch that.
I didn't either.
yeah,
Wow,
you know how we do. We watch
wow.
Law and Order. We pay attention to little details and stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't catch that part. Going to how this movie ends was a really interesting ending, and where she okay, so as Ainsley alluded to, she walks off. She ends up the sister, Emilia Perez, ends up chasing off the woman and the children, and he what he did was he cut off all her money. And she's saying, well, wait a minute, how you got all this access to my stuff if you just the sister? So what they decide to do is she sets up this kidnapping. So they kidnap Emilia Perez, hoping that, this money will surface, blah, 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 blah. And everything goes bad. Everything goes
Wait.
because,
Pastor Steph, that's what happened?
yeah.
That was one of the points when I fell asleep. Okay, so I didn't rewind back far enough. All right. I didn't know why she got kidnapped. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Because she wanted her money back. It's like, yo, how you get my money? I want my money because that money was left to me from my husband.
Right.
How do you have access to cut me off? Because she said to Zoe Saldana, the attorney, right, how she get to my money? Well, how does she even know how to access it? How does she know I have it? Blah, 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 blah. So they set up this whole thing to kidnap Emilia Perez to get the money back. Well, everything goes wrong because Zoe Saldana, the attorney, goes and gets all the mob people, all the cartel people, and they go to try to get Emilia back, and everything goes haywire. And at that point, I started to ask, is this a real story? Because this was just really just like, wow, this is
Yeah, I started to look that up though, but
I did too. I did too, and I did not.
I don't think no real gangster don't want that to come out for real. If it was,
I don't think so. But if he's dead, what difference would it make? Remember, he's supposedly died. So
ain't nobody want to know that story come out for real. Keep it as fiction.
Yeah, I don't know, but this was some good fiction writing.
It is.
But they end up going over the cliff, and dying, and like they said, the kids end up with Zoe Saldana anyway. They don't have any parent. They don't have either parent at the end, which is a really sad situation because, again, had you just went ahead and had your sex change and stayed away the way you should have, then everybody would have been fine. You, the wife, and the kids, everybody would have been fine.
The money would have been fine, everything.
Right, so this is what happens now. Okay, so here's the question that I want to ask. In light of what we've seen in this movie, and I'm going to ask this behind every movie that we review, look at what we looked at last year on our own. We're talking about whether this is diverse or not. These Oscars, whether they're diverse or not. You know what? I'm going to come back to that. And then we could talk about whether we go click it or kick it. Okay. All right, we'll do that.
Oh, no
All right.
clicking right now. Oh, okay.
No, 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 no. We can't talk about it right now because I'm gonna ask that question about that I wanted to ask. All right.
Oh, wait a
So
minute. I gotta get my clicker. Hold up. Go ahead. I gotta get my clicker. Now that you mention it, I don't have my clicker right here.
okay,
I'll be
go
right
get
back.
your click it. Get your click it. See how he left? He's leaving to go get his click it. That's how I had to go get my charge this morning. All right. Well, the next movie is The Substance. Elizabeth Sparkle, renowned for an aerobics show, faces a devastating blow on her 50th birthday as her boss fires her. Amid her distress, a laboratory offers her a substance which promises to transform her into an enhanced version of herself. Now, this is starring my girl, Demi Moore. Where's my list of cast? Here we go. It's starring Demi Moore. I never heard this Margaret Qualley, who plays Sue. There's Dennis Quaid, who's actually in this movie. And past that, you really don't see many others that you will probably recognize. So, Ainsley, you got first dibs on The Substance.
The Substance. You know what? Actually, the premise, it reminds me of a movie I remember seeing a long time ago, with a similar storyline. Instead it was like two women who was basically trying to retain their youth, and somehow they found a way to every once in a while they'll retain their youth, but it was at a cost. And and how that developed over a period of time. The thing was in that one, the thing was two things. One, as every time they whatever they did to look younger, they became more brittle, a lot more less stable and stuff like that. And as they became young, everybody else was getting old, And finally, the person who was hooking them up, he died, and eventually they got too brittle, fell down a flight of stairs, and they crumbled to death. So anyway,
What was this?
I can't remember the name of the movie. I think what's her name? Goldie Hawn was in it, I believe. But this was like over like 20 years ago. Maybe 30 years ago.
But you know what that almost sounds like? Do y'all remember that episode of Tales from the Crypt when the old man wanted the young girl and kept paying the guy to do the plastic surgery on him bit by bit, and he spent all his worth on that plastic surgery and got transformed into this younger looking attractive man, but the guy who did the surgery transformed himself into the way the old man used to look, and got all the money and ended up getting a girl.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So that's what that just reminded me of, what you just explained, Ainsley.
Yeah, so I guess it's other stories similar to that. And so that's what it kind of remind me of, kind of like the same thing. But I gotta say, this movie, after a while, it started getting kind of like really gross. I mean, it started to turn to like almost like a what's his name, Tarantino, with the bloody gore and stuff like that. It was like
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino. It was like unnecessarily. Like, come on, man, this is like, how far can you go with this stuff and whatnot? But yeah, it just shows, what's her name? Elizabeth Sparkle, trying to retain her, get back to her youth and reclaim her youth and whatnot. And I didn't realize it was Demi Moore. Only thing really got to me though, it's like, I understand. So for movie purposes, you got to see the transition from the older person to the younger person. So they had to show the older white person body, but I'm like, do I really need to see 6 o'clock straight up and down this older white woman with no butt? I need to really see all that. I mean, you could have left that to the imagination for me.
Okay.
And that whole sequence, the activator, you got to stabilize once a day, and you got to switch to get the food this particular food and whatnot. It just kind of shows you, I guess, the battle. We may want to be younger, but it
Mhm.
best just stick with yourself because it comes really as the what you call, I don't know, the substance. They say you can't. They was going to say you are one. You can't say, well, the
Mhm.
younger person, this person is doing this because that's
Right,
really you.
right,
The older person, you
right,
can't
right,
say
right,
this person's doing that because that's really you. You know what I'm
right.
saying? So it was it's somewhat interesting the conflict between the older person and the younger person, but it just got a little bit too gory, and I'm like, oh, come on now. I at some point I was like, okay, we can end this right about now. When it just oh yeah, because it's supposed to uh the climax, everything was supposed to be this New Year's Eve party.
Right,
I was like,
right.
it could not come soon enough for me. Um,
Okay, okay.
and there were so many things just like, okay, this is only straight Hollywood that normally would not make sense. The place where she had to go to get this thing, this alley,
Oh my goodness, to get
I'm like, yo,
the
come on now.
substance. Ooh, are
Bruh,
you that desperate?
bruh.
Right.
That's complete. That's beyond desperation, really. Come on now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
something that kind of like you're gonna go to the alley. I mean, come on. That's straight up Hollywood. It could have been like some exclusive looking. You know, that just seemed too. I guess for Hollywood, for for the visual sake, you know. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that was just a bit unbelievable to me. So it was crazy. To me, the whole thing was crazy. I was like, I just couldn't wait for it to end after a certain point. Cause I'm like, we see this was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. How much gory can it get? And it kept going more and more and more and more. You know,
Okay.
um,
All
yeah.
right. Shantice, what you got for us regarding the substance? Highlights. What we got?
This was a perfect illustration of the enemy getting in your ear. And that's all I visualized. When Demi Moore sat down and first put the drive in the TV and the music that almost sounded like the Purge music came up. I was like, why does it almost sound like the Purge alarm? And it was like, have you ever thought to be more beautiful, younger? Like, it was just real short and quick and to the point. And I'm like, that's exactly how the enemy talks to us. He ain't going roundabout, especially now. It's just he sees what he can introduce or reintroduce. And it's like, let me say these exact words. And it had her, but she still wasn't too convinced. And then when she went and got drunk, see what happens with that alcohol? Went and got drunk. Now you going back fishing for the drive in the garbage can.
Mm-hmm.
See? Now you really held up that welcome sign to the enemy and invited him on into your thoughts and allowed that to now get you to do that. I agree with Ainsley. When she went to go get the experimental drug, first of all, the gate didn't come up all the way. That was already like, okay, what's happening? Then you don't take time to sweep. I keep telling people, I don't go into your bodega, your Chinese restaurant, your nothing if your awning ain't clean, because that's just a glimpse of how the inside looks. So now I'm going into this crack alley to go get this experimental drug that's supposed to make me younger and more beautiful. Absolutely not. And to now inject myself with something that I have absolutely no idea what it was. It just reminded me of all the stuff that the government is pushing for us, all these vaccines and all that now. It's like, we don't know what's in this stuff. But because we're taking someone else's word for it, we're now getting ourselves injected with this and then wondering why we're either mentally or physically going out of whack. The whole concept of, I thought this was going to be kind of like a Nutty Professor type of thing, where Professor Clump created this drug. So unlike this situation, he knew what this was going to do because he was the chemist. But it was still him. It was him that turned into Buddy Love and then would turn back into Professor Clump. This here was your spine done created a whole other entity that had nothing to do with you. While your spine is out there partying and got a new TV show and all of that, you sleeping. So you're not enjoying none of what's going on.
For a
Right.
week.
And then now your
right.
spine is
Right.
coming back to you and drawing more out of you because she done got greedy to now be herself for longer than the week that she's supposed to be, and yet you still sleep. You have nothing. So your spine is destroying herself while still destroying you. So neither entity is getting better.
Right.
Neither.
Right.
And I'm just like, well, what kind of game is this? Like, you should have terminated it at that point. Because at the part when she said, when she called and said, I want to end it, and he's like, are you sure? And she's like, yes, I'm sure. And then she's contemplating, and I'm like, well, what is there to
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You're not getting nothing out of this. And then you trying to wake up to it's our big night. No, it's her big night because you're going to be asleep. What are you doing?
Exactly.
You know, that made absolutely no sense. But again, it shows how mentally we get so manipulated into believing that we're living. It was like a mother trying to live through her child. That's exactly how it was. It was like, no, you got to get up and do this because this is our big night. It's like, excuse you, you ain't got nothing to do with this. It's like, this is all me. I got the cover. I'm hosting a New Year's Eve show. I'm doing this. Ain't got nothing to do with you. You're washed up. You're gone. So yeah, that was just like that. Those are the highlights for me. Like, what's the concept behind this? Where nobody's enjoying this. Just like you literally sold yourself to the enemy now to gain nothing from it. That whole part was just like so whack on me. Like, okay, so nobody's benefiting. All right.
Yeah.
And they're both calling the guy to complain about the other one. So it's like, I'm calling my father. I'm calling your father to complain about you, the child. And the child, I'm calling my father to tell him to put my mother in check. It was just like, what are we doing?
Yeah. This was really weird. This was a very weird thing. You know, Shantice, you brought up the issue of this is the way the enemy whispers in our ear. This is the way the enemy dupes us into believing. And this is something that came to my mind as well, because I'm saying to myself, here you are, you want to take this substance under the guise of, okay, I'm going to now become younger. And, you know, I'm 50 years old. I'm over the hill. Nobody wants me. I just got fired from doing this aerobic show. You're supposedly a beautiful woman. Go do something else. Go do something else. No, you want to stay in front of this camera, hopping up and down to the point of you're going to put this glowing yellow substance into your body to hopefully become younger. And like Shantice said, you don't even enjoy it because you go to sleep, you get knocked out, and then something else gets created through you, a big old grown person. So she was 21 years old. And now, you know, she comes out of you, and now she gets, like Angel said, a week of living her life. And now they hurry up and pick her up, you know, to be this new aerobics individual. And in order for her to live, she's got to keep withdrawing fluid from the host, if you will. And she becomes greedy. She wants to stay longer than the week. And what's happening is, as Ainsley described in the other movie, as she's withdrawing this fluid, it's making her younger, keeping her younger longer, but it's aging the host. So when the host wakes up, she's, you know, her hand is looking like it's 150 years old, or the foot is looking like it's 200 years old. And yet you can't do anything about it, because this is what happened when you went to sleep. This is what the enemy does to you. You know, all the stuff that goes on, you know, in your head, all because you're vain, all because you want to live the way the world is telling you that this is the way to live. And again, when she had the opportunity, when she called and said, listen, you know, I don't like what this person is doing. And he says, well, are you sure you want to terminate? And then she rethinks it. Well, what is there to rethink? You're dying. I couldn't understand that either. I'm like, well, you're dying. She's killing you. And you're not getting, that's the first thing I thought about. I was like, you don't even get to enjoy none of this stuff. You are laid out on the bathroom floor each and every time the young girl wants to go out and live her life. And this is just some chaos going on here. And at the end, as Ainsley described, it gets worse, it gets grosser. It really becomes, it almost went from a decent storyline to something unbelievable. It went into a straight thriller horror movie. Yeah, it's like, oh, we got to live through this now. Just end the movie already.
Right. I'm like, is this a Hunchback of Notre Dame going on over here?
Oh yes, I do. So how she was looking at it.
Right, either she gonna die or she gonna live. You really pushing it, as Tamaja said, you dragging it. Why are we living through all of this now? Just get to the end of the movie. Who reigns at the end of the movie? Does the old person reign or does the young person reign? What happens? So it ends up getting stretched out unnecessarily, and it becomes an unenjoyable viewing, because it was the other earlier parts of it you could tolerate, even if it wasn't for the fact of, let me just see what happens. Because a lot of movies we look at like that, okay, let me just see what happens.
Yeah.
To get to the end of, okay, we have to review this movie, so I got to sit through to the end. It's like, yo, this is whack. Get them both off the screen.
Right.
Blow the whole setup for this New Year's gala, and let's just be done with it.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like whoever wrote it, they start off with good intention, and right in the middle of it, they smoke some bad weed.
No, in the middle of it, they took the substance and the spine took over. The spine took over and finished the script.
Yeah, it was like, yo, you almost had it. You almost had it. But then you took us into some La La Land crazy world. So, that's how that ended. So we're gonna come back to, how we rate it, blah blah blah, and so forth and so on. We got one more movie to review. We got a guest with us tonight, and we got our Mrs. Renee. Hey, Ms. Parker.
Hey, Renee.
Hey, Harris. How are you, sir?
Girl.
What's going on?
All right. So before we get started on our review, we're going to be talking about Conclave. Now, let me give you what the synopsis is on Conclave. All righty. The synopsis is: Cardinal Lawrence has one of the world's most secretive and ancient events, participating in the selection of a new pope. Surrounded by powerful religious leaders in the halls of the Vatican, he soon uncovers a trail of deep secrets that could shake the very foundation of the Roman Catholic Church. Now, when we talk about cast, we do see some familiar faces. We have Ralph Fiennes. We've seen him on some things, who plays the lead role of Cardinal Lawrence. We have Isabella Rossellini, who plays our sister Agnes, and we know Isabella Rossellini from some other movies. Stanley Tucci was a nice face to see. He plays Cardinal Bellini. We've got Carlos, I can't pronounce his name, but I definitely know his face. Dees, I want to say. He plays Cardinal Vincent. We've got John Lithgow, a face we have not seen in a minute, who plays Cardinal Joseph T. And you see some other, familiar faces here and there. But it's a pretty good cast. It's actually a pretty good cast. Renee, you got first dibs on this. Give us some highlights of Conclave without going to the end.
Girl, listen. At first, it was like you think about it, you don't really know what goes on behind the curtain, behind the veil, in the secret rooms. And this movie shell shocks you. That I'll say that. As far as the acting, Tucci was amazing. Anytime you have John Lithgow in a movie, expect anything. Anything, because he's bringing it. And everybody bought it. Everybody bought it. It shined a light on, also, to me, slight racism. But with Lithgow and how he did, the shiesty little things that he did. It was better than I anticipated without going to the end. It was better than I anticipated it was going to be. It took a minute to pick up, but once it picked up, it was on.
Okay. Anything in particular in the movie at all, without going to the end, that stuck out to you, caught your attention?
Ralph Fiennes, I can't remember the character's name. What did you say his name was? Lawrence?
Okay. Well,
Lawrence, yes.
Yes, the lead role. Yes,
to be the person in charge of overseeing, but also being somebody that they could vote for to be the Pope, put him in a very precarious, he's an overseer. He's in charge of making sure everything is done above board. So when he questioned them, they were like, "Oh, you're only doing this because you want it for yourself." And he really, it didn't seem, he really didn't want it for himself. He just wanted to fulfill the request that was given to him.
Yeah.
So his integrity, he had to keep his integrity intact, which wasn't, that's what they'll attack when they need to try to make you look bad. But it showed, everybody had their little, I don't want him to get it. So what can we find on him, and what can we find on him? And at the end of the day, look what they found.
As Mariah said,
He twisted my glasses up.
Yeah.
All righty. Shantice, what you got?
I agree. I didn't expect this movie to be as interesting as it was. I really didn't. I was like, I hope this ain't no boring. But I can't even lie. Once I heard like it was about the Pope stuff, that already had me a little intrigued. I was like, oh, okay, because we understand about that, side of the religion. I had no idea about how intense the politics are over there. That had me like really glued to the screen. Like they serious. Like they really think this is the way it should go, and this is why there's so much chaos within this process, because this is not the way it's supposed to go. There's no way it's supposed to be like this. Absolutely not. What's his name? The one that played Bellini again? I love him.
Bellini is played Stanley Tucci.
Yes. I've loved him since In Too Deep. I love him. He was amazing. Davis in the Whitney Houston movie that came out on Netflix. He was amazing. I love him. So once I saw him, I was like, yeah, I'm really watching it. The I'm trying to think what part really had me. I love the part when the one who ended up getting it, when he was first introduced, and he was praying and gave credit and acknowledgement to the nuns. I was like, yes. And it even threw the nuns off. They was like, wait, he mentioned us in the prayer? Like, what? It even threw them off, and I was like,
they were getting ready to eat.
Exactly.
Right.
That just went to really show faith versus religion. You know, like I've been taught that we're all one. We may, you know, be two different genders, but God is not esteeming one higher than the other. We wouldn't be able to sit here and fellowship if it wasn't for these nuns.
Right.
We'd be standing outside in that courtyard, smoking and standing up eating. If it wasn't for and we would have to cook the food. You know, they did all of that. Everything from the presentation to the actual food. So I really, really like that. I agree with Renee. The cutthroat stuff really had me like, all right, okay, so first the old man dies in the beginning. Now you got okay. Now, you know, and back in the day, that would have made one of my sisters cry. I don't know what it was about old people dying in movies. She would literally cry like it was her grandparent. Like, why are you? You know, he died. So it started off, you know, sad then. And then now you have, well, before he died, he said that this one was getting kicked out. But the one supposed to be getting kicked out is one of the ones that's doing all the conniving. And now wait. The black African, he better not be in the running. So now we're going to bring the black woman African up as a nun to now throw in what he done did to her. And it's like, what? What are we doing? What are we doing? So yeah, it was
all for a title.
Exactly. If it was more emphasis and focus on the actual responsibilities of the position, half of y'all wouldn't want it. I agree with you, Renee. But those were the highlights for me. It was just like, wow, like it was a nice glimpse. And I'm pretty sure that the Catholics are mad, you know, that it's like now they know what we doing that. You know, but it was a nice glimpse into what actually goes on over there. And, you know, for those of us who are striving to really live a true godly life, it's like, you know, because that's not the only faith that's doing it now. Like, we gotta, you know, we gotta make sure we stay away from that, because on outside looking in, do we really want to look like that or continue to look like that? You know, so yeah, that was crazy for me.
Wow.
That opens up the floodgates on that Catholic thing. Yep.
Yes.
Oh yeah. They definitely exposed who they are. Conclave definitely gave me even more idea how much God was not in the decisions that were made. A lot of politics involved. That's Anika's comment. Oh yes, absolutely. That is correct. Yeah. Ainsley, what you got? Without giving away the ending.
Okay, I won't get to the ending. But see, like I mentioned earlier, y'all had the pleasure of watching a movie understanding what they was talking about in English.
Where did you watch it? What streaming service did you watch?
It was all over Peacock, Ainsley. Only you would find the non-English version.
Yeah, my hookup streaming version didn't give me that one at first, man. I was watching like it was Italian. So I kept falling asleep on it. And it was sporadic English in it. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's going to get more to English. It never did. So I kept falling asleep. I fell asleep about 4 or 5 times trying to watch this. So it's interesting when you watch a movie, when you get to the whole end, and then you think you know what happened and stuff like that. So now when I actually did, watch it with the English, I'm like, oh, that's what they was talking about. I missed a whole lot of stuff. I'm like, oh, that's what they're trying to do to the brother back then. Oh man, like you said, hit the racist thing. You trying to get the black man out of it. Right. I realized there was so much stuff I was missing. It's amazing with the thing. We just watching stuff, just going off of the acting. I could tell the acting was on par. So it's like, I guess I'm playing my mind like, okay, he's probably saying this to him. And you never know, them small scenes. I'm like, it's small, so it got to be insignificant. So okay, forget that. So I'm only looking for the big scenes, the big
oh my goodness,
the big, like the big argument scene they have and stuff like that. Tell me, I was mad surprised when I finally watched in English. I was like, oh, okay, all right. I'm not surprised though. I've heard about the Conclave, I don't know why I recall. I heard about it that, it's true that they every time they do a vote, they send up the signal so everybody knows, okay, They haven't yet decided and stuff like that. I know it's a really big thing, and only the cardinals, I guess those are the higher ups, get to vote on it. So I know it's a really big thing. They got to come from all over the world, come there, and then they vote on this thing. But with any organization, there's always the politics and the power struggle, and there's one thing though that they said to me, I think it's so poignant and so true. I realized that even in the Italian version, I think it was Bellini and Lawrence, because Bellini, he didn't really want the position, right? And I think it was Lawrence. I think Lawrence, he said, the ones that don't want it are probably the ones that are better for the position. But what's most dangerous are the ones that really want it in the first place.
Right.
To me, that is so true. Come up in the church, because I'm almost like with those in the pastoral leadership, I'm like, I don't know anybody who really from childhood say, yo, I want to be a pastor.
Right. Raise their hand. Right.
Man, junior high school, that's what I was thinking about. High school.
Right.
That's what I want to do.
What you want to be when you grow up? The pastor.
Come on now. Yeah, come on. I mean, like everybody, and the ones who do want to be, you gotta kind of look side eyes. They think if it's the prestige, the status, or whatever.
It's the title. It's the title, but you don't know what it costs.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
What it costs to be the boss. That's right.
Exactly.
Right.
So that would rang so true. That was to me, that's one of the most poignant statements at the whole thing. But the stuff that goes on, I'm not surprised because growing up in the church, and whenever there's a turnover in leadership and stuff like that, there's this power struggle, and it can get dirty. And not necessarily have to be within the church too, fraternities and stuff. It gets anything. I just know it gets cutthroat. I mean, really cutthroat. So I wasn't surprised with all the stuff, but I did not see the end coming though. That was like okay. This is what y'all came. Absolutely. This is what y'all came down to. All right. This whole 2-hour movie, this is what we come down to.
Right.
And now you're stuck with that decision.
Right. How about that?
Right. So
not knowing what you did.
Right. And what could have when you didn't do all that plotting, maybe you would have let nature take its normal course, and then because you would have swallowed a whole lot of other people being this leader, not this situation. So when I read the synopsis, I was excited, but I thought it was going into a different direction. I didn't think it was going to be this. I thought it was going to blow up the Catholic Church on another level.
Yeah.
In some other areas that we have come to find out big time that's been behind the veil of the Roman Catholic Church. So I was like, oh, okay, well, somebody's writing about it. Okay, no problem. I'll look at it. When I actually watched it, and I was like, oh, well, this is different. I didn't think this is what it was going to be about. Once, kind of like what you all said, here it is, the Pope dies. And anytime leadership has to change hands unexpectedly, it's always a mess, because all the things come out the woodwork. All the secrets get told. They open up a suitcase and they find this. They open up a closet and they find that. They start talking to this one and this comes out. So this was very typical of, I'm with Ainsley. This stuff didn't really surprise me. Just the way the things were done, and just at the level of exposure we were talking about. I actually didn't realize about this conclave. For those of you who don't know, conclave just simply means a secret meeting. That you go behind closed doors, you gather together, you go behind closed doors, and you make a decision. And the way the voting was done was pretty simple. You just wrote down who you wanted, and this just was done over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And you watch how, as you know, a lot of them didn't know one another. You know, you're from all over the world. Everybody's meeting at the Vatican for the first time. So some of you kind of know from other times you've been together, but for the most part, most of these people don't know one another. So you're voting, and like, you know, Bellini, you know, Lawrence, I'm sorry, they don't want the position, but because he's been left to kind of spearhead this investigation, it's almost like people would put him in charge. It's like, because we already see what he can do. We already see, you know, how he moves. So yeah, we want you to be this person in charge. And you've got all these other people's like, I don't know. Okay, I'll vote for Ainsley. He looks, you know, he looks trustworthy. Say, oh, I like Renee's earrings. I'm gonna vote for her. Oh, Shanti, she speaks a certain way. She's aggressive. She gonna get the job done. I'll vote for her. So a lot of times these votings are blind. You don't have any idea as to who you voted for. So it was a very interesting process to watch. Each time they voted, the numbers started shifting as they started eating together, and as they started going on their smoking breaks, and as they started talking. When they went back to vote, the numbers started to shift. Ainsley got more votes than he did. Renee got less votes than she did. Shantice got more votes than she did. So it was a really interesting process in and of itself. But what, you know, kind of goes on behind the scenes really showed us that the church does nothing different. Church people are nothing different. I don't care if you are, you know, the local popes, you know, the local people in charge, you are no different. A lot of things got exposed as to how, you know, people were doing things undercover, behind the scenes, sabotaging, you know, just like I think it was Shantice who said, you know, there was a black person who they were voting for, and they didn't want him to win. So they went and they dug up some scandal that happened, you know,
30
right
years
on the
before.
premises with one of the nuns, you know, and they're like, okay, well, why did that come up? Only to find out that one of the other people who wanted to win, he ended up bringing that stuff up. So it's really interesting to watch, you know, them act like everybody else.
And then when they stepped to him, when they stepped to John Lithgow, you know, he was like, how could you say such a thing? I'm just going to act like you didn't. And I was like, see, that's how he do.
Yeah, it's no different.
Yeah.
But they flew
he was
the
lying
nun.
To the halt, man. He was lying to the halt.
They brought the nun up specifically for that.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was like, wait, what? You intentionally went back to the motherland,
right? And found something that he did 30 years ago,
and brought her up here to fake be a part of the women's society who y'all disregard anyway. They treat like trash anyway. So already y'all plan on treating her like she's insignificant. So then remind her of what happened. So it's like you just keep piling on. So while you're trying to get at him, you're making her feel even worse.
Absolutely.
Like, what are you doing?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. So then my question becomes, how do you take care of the church?
Right.
How do you take care of your local church if you went and specifically did this to hurt? You specifically did this with it not mattering who it hurt. This was your goal. You went out your way. So now you're supposed to convince me that you're going to take care of the church at large? When you can't even handle a simple voting process, you either win or you lose. But we're supposed to trust you now. And like Renee says, oh, he denied this thing to the end. You could have just took
you remember he was lying when he said when the Pope has supposedly had dismissed him for or whatnot, and he was like, no, that's no, you can act such and such a thing. So I'm thinking,
and then he turned around and was like, oh, the Pope told me to do it. What?
Yeah, so I'm thinking, okay, maybe that's another plot twist. Because he was holding on to their life. I was like, okay, well, maybe something else gonna come out of it. Because he that come on now. He said it didn't happen. It's not him. I'm thinking for
Right,
something
but
else, but he was holding on to that lie, boy, like
yes,
for dear life.
and this is scary to think that, excuse me, much like the streets, as Shantice always says, it's safe in the club, because there's no way in the world, that you would actually be handling people like this. Now, here's the interesting part. So I'm going to segue into the ending. I'm not going to give away. I'm just going to give the segue. So in all of the gathering, they have one young man who shows up, who is supposedly completely unknown. Nobody's ever heard of him. Nobody believes that he could have really been a part of the Roman Catholic Church. Everything he says is questionable. And how could you vote for a person who you really don't even believe should be there? Plain and simple as that.
Right.
So here we are, now getting introduced to this brand new person. He drops some bars. He's very upfront. He's very direct. He says what, he feels. He says what he thinks. And now it goes from him getting no votes to now, remember I told you how this is turning around each time the voting process goes on and they're casting their votes. He's getting another set of votes. But nobody knows him. But again, that camaraderie that takes place during the time that you're there now gives these people some kind of understanding as to who he is. They're listening to him. He sounds like he's making a little bit of sense. He's sounding like he's a fair individual. Let's vote for him.
And at the end of the day, then he's there for what it is. He's not there to have anybody in the back. He's not there trying to supersede anybody. He's just there to do what he was called to do.
Right. Just come and vote.
Yep.
Just come and vote. Just come and vote for the next Pope. So, Renee, you want to talk about the ending? I'll give you first dibs on this.
So when he won, I was like, that was nice. They, and the last shall be first. I was like, okay, I like how they ended that. And then it was like, oh, well, he went to the hospital. He had to get some sort of procedure done, but he didn't get the procedure done. So I'm like, let me find out. So I'm listening, and it was like, well, he didn't have the procedure because he wanted to keep his uterus. His what? When I tell you, I probably could have woke Paul up the way I yelled at that TV. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. The Pope got a uterus. Only in the movies. Only in the movies. And now y'all done tried to get everybody else out. And the plot twist was, look at how y'all treated the women.
Exactly.
Right.
And look who y'all voted in.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Unbeknownst to you. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And they still I would love to see the Conclave part 2 or after the Conclave. Let's see that movie.
Goodness. Shantice, what you got for the ending?
Yeah, that's the plot twist. I was like, yep, there you go, right there, which explains why he acknowledged the women in the prayer, because I can empathize with feeling like an outcast, feeling like a no one, and being disregarded. It's like, no, if God loves me enough to forget trying to be the leader, if God loves me enough to still allow me to even stay in this faith and still proclaim and profess his name, he understands what I want to do. So if he's still allowing me to do that, then I must mean something to him. So we're not going to now, in front of me, disregard anybody. And I loved it too, because again, all that cutthroat and all that was for nothing. Because look at what ended up happening. And I loved it too. Another plot twist is, again, and it's already been said, but the one who was the most, he was the one who said the least amount. Even he didn't even speak as much as Bellini did, and Bellini barely said anything. Barely said anything. But it was like, I'm gonna just sit in the cut, and however God wants this to go, however He allows this to go, is how it's gonna go. So I could sit here and yell, I could sit here and petition, or I could sit here and just fall back. Either way, whoever God says is gonna have this seat, whether they deserve it or not, is who's gonna have this seat. So it was like a twofold twist. Like Renee said, look which gender pretty much got it. And then look at how the one who just falls back and says, my main focus is just what I'm supposed to be doing for God. And if God sees that He's gonna allow me this, then that is what it is. But I agree. I would have loved to have really had like another 5 or 10 minutes of the movie just to see everyone's reaction, how many more cigarettes they were smoking. Because I'm like, how is this who's gonna be the Pope? But y'all outside smoking. What's happening here? Y'all might as well get the fire can with the fire and do all the other stuff. Like what are you doing on the courtyard of the church, whatever place that was,
right,
you know,
right,
but yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it was those two points was just like, again, that just goes to show we don't have as much control as we like to think we do as to what the outcome is going to be. No matter what we try to do, we are not the ones left to make the final decision.
Yep. Absolutely.
Ainsley,
Anika says, always find a way to have that storyline. What's your thought when it comes to that comment, as well as what happened in the movie? The ending.
Say again, the line.
They always find a way to have that storyline. In other words, something transsexual, something gay.
Yeah.
Something.
Because it seemed, well, to me that seemed like an agenda. So it's like, okay, like the whole Emilia Perez, you know, okay, so that's on that line. So okay, they're gonna blow that up, and this here, the surprise ending, well, you gotta blow that up, you know, and stuff like that. Yeah, so I agree. It's anything with that community is going to get highlighted. It seems like maybe more than it should ordinarily. So I'm not surprised with that, you know. Now with the ending, you know, to me it was amazing because you're right, because the name was Benitez, right? So when the first day, I think he got maybe 1 or 2 votes. The next round, he got 3 votes. Next time, he got 4 votes and whatnot. Then they had the, you know, the bombing and stuff like that. And the main one, who they did not want to get, Tedesco, right? The racist cardinal and whatnot, because remember, he just wanted his kind to be to go into the Pope. We want to bring things back to the way things used to be. You know, when he had his big blow up and their meeting, if you will, talking about, you know, we need to go, we're gonna go back to war, back the way things were, having his big blow up. Had he probably had not said anything, he probably would have just won, just out of default, how things were going. But because he mentioned that, you know, make this all, you know, take things back to war, you know, war, that's when Benitez said, well, what do you know about war?
Yeah.
And when he spoke on that, that's what prompted everybody to go like, hey, you know, you saying you talking some real stuff here. You know, it was like that's what changed everybody, because Tedesco opened his mouth too much, and the counter was like, what do you know about war? You talking all of that, basically you talk all that yin yang. You don't know. I've been here. I've been working in Afghanistan and I forget it was like a war torn
in the Congo.
The Congo, right. So he's been all in it. So what do you know about that? I know what that is. So it kind of show like he know what the real deal is. You know? And so that's how after he said that talk in front of everybody, boom, that was it. He got the votes and stuff like that. Now in the end, you know, I gotta say, when they talk about, well, he didn't go to a hospital, it's really a clinic or center. I'm like, okay. And they talk about he got to remove, he didn't have like a hysterectomy or remove his, you know. I'm like, is this a woman? I'm like, what is this now? You know what I'm saying? Is this a woman just like a man?
It was Emilia Perez.
Yeah. Like, is this really a man? You know, I'm like, oh, I never heard this is a man with a womb. I'm like, yo, I never heard of it. I'm like, how could this be a woman just like a man? No, they don't really know that. But a man with a womb? I'm like, yo, this is some Hollywood. I never heard of that before. I don't know if it really ever existed, but a man with a womb. Come on now. I'm like, I never even heard of that. So I'm like, okay. But this is their choice. Everything is kind of more or less kind of finalized now. So I was like, no matter how you look at it, whether it's a woman who dressing like a man or a man with a womb, you know how you look at it, it's totally out the norm. But this is their choice.
Right. Can't do nothing about it.
Right. Got to go with it. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Got to go. That's it.
That's right. That's right.
I thought it was kind of crazy because I was like, oh my God, this is how it's ending. and now you mentioned, and at the very end, you know, the very end scene, it showed like the women that was leaving. I was like, why are they showing that? I never got the significance of that. But now hearing what you're saying, because they pretty much was the ones putting everything together. It makes sense. That's how, I mean, it's over now. Once they start leaving out, that's it.
Right. Right. You know, the biggest message here is no matter how you manipulate things, it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yep.
And all this planning and all of this conniving and all of this backstabbing and all of this plotting, it didn't matter at the end of the day. You had an absolute nobody come up in here, and now she ends up being the individual who is now the Pope. We ain't talking about for the local church. We ain't talking about for the local city. We ain't talking about for the state.
The world.
We talking about everybody. This is
the whole wide
overall.
world.
Yep. Everybody.
Here's the interesting part, because y'all legitimately voted
right
for this individual. You can't do nothing about it. You cannot say there were lies. You cannot say there was conniving. With all the other conniving going on, you can't say this was conniving. With all the plotting going on, you couldn't say this here was a part of the plot. You couldn't get around none of this. At the end of the day, you are literally stuck with your vote. The majority wins. And that's what for Stephanie, that was the biggest message here. No matter what you do, whatever it's going to be is what it's going to be. There is nothing you're going to be able to do about it. And there's nothing you're going to be able to do to change it, because that's exactly how the pennies fell. So, you know what? This is what you end up being. So now the Roman Catholic Church is now taken over by a man, woman, man, whichever way you want to put this first. When I heard that this whole thing was this woman behind the scenes, I was like, wow, you went there. Wow.
So do we know is it a woman with or is it a man with a womb? Or
so what it said was if you think back to the whole, when you listen to everything, this was when he was younger. They decided not to address it. And when he got to be an adult, it was up to him to address it. This is something that was always the case. And now he decided, he had an opportunity to go and have the surgery. And he said, no, I'm not going to have it. Plain and simple.
Right. Okay.
And you know what?
So it's the man with the womb. All right.
Right. And, externally, this is what we're seeing. And this is what I say about this whole, and I'm going to say this and I'm going to shut this down. And I'm doing that purposely. But this is what I say about this whole entire homosexual community, this LGBTQ community, and how the church is so quick to condemn based on what the Bible says. We know what the Bible says. But thank God that he is the righteous judge, because what we see here, he says very clearly, that's why he judges from the inside. That's why he assesses from the inside, because all we're going with is what's going on the outside. We don't know these people's plights. We have no idea how this person felt from childhood to go through this lifestyle. And now you have to make these type of decisions. And this is real, because this is real life. This happens in real life. This is not just a storyline, something made up. There are people who really live with two genitals. They were born with two genitals. And so if you think about it, if you say, well, you know what, if they're born with two genitals, what's going on the inside? We can't see. We have no idea what's going on the inside. So how can we determine or dictate how they behave? How can we tell people, oh, you really didn't feel that? We have no idea. This is why we need to just love people. And this is what this story was really about. Who are we loving? That's why I said, with all this plotting going on, are you telling me you are prepared to take care of the church at large when you couldn't even love through the voting process? So this is a lesson for all of us to understand that, listen, we may see what we see, but we really don't know anything. At the end of the day, we're not knowledgeable of anything. When we're voting, when we're assessing, we really don't know what we're voting and assessing, really. And that's what really this was about. You did all of this, and you really didn't even know what was right underneath your nose because it was covered up. So, listen, I loved it. Her Morphodite. Yes. Hello, Brother Harold. How are you? Boy, I don't think you know who I am. I've been knowing you for absolute years. But hey, thank you so much for joining us. Yes, it is praying time, because if, just like you all have said, if this is going on in this arena, then every other arena has something similar, if not worse, going on in it. So this is what we're living in. Absolutely. Okay, so here's my question. As we wrap this up, here's my question. So throughout the year of 2024, we reviewed quite a bit of movies. So now we have the substance that came up for Oscar nomination. We have Conclave that came up for Oscar nomination, and we have what's the other one we just did?
Emilia Perez.
Thank you, Emilia Perez. Can we say that even based on these three, that the Oscars are diversified, even in their nominations? They had privy. They had it available to them to look at everything we looked at and then some. But this is what they chose. Can we say it's diverse just based on these three? And I'm probably going to ask this each week for the next couple of weeks. Ainsley, I'm going to give you first dibs on this question.
For Emilia Perez and Conclave, I could say, you say in that definition, it is more diversified, if you will. It is more appeasing. It seems like there's more of a agenda to me, for the LGBT, the alphabet, that, for them to get recognition and stuff like that. So I guess that's diversity. And in that regard, it has been. It's not as I used to say, what it was called, an Oscar so white. So
wait, what?
Wasn't it called Oscar so white before?
I never heard that terminology, so I'm not saying yes or I'm not saying no. But if you heard it, then that's what they called it.
You remember that was a big thing, because there was like one year there was like little white, hardly no black people. That was the big the big thing. Yeah, it was called an Oscar so white. It was the Oscars. Yeah, Oscar so white. And that's what it was like. That was the slogan. And that's when they said, "Oh, okay, we gonna be more diverse and yada yada yada." The next thing you know, then we got more black people, more minorities being involved to try to let more people join the academy, yada yada yada. Yeah, but I think the whole slogan was Oscar so white. Yeah.
Okay. Shantice, do you feel based on these three movies, and in addition to all the ones that we reviewed, and we didn't review a quarter of the movies that were available. Do you feel that the Oscars are diverse just based on these 3 movies?
No. They're sticking to being one-note Charlies. You know, I'm not impressed with you including the LGBT community. I guess they tried to do something with it being a lot more Latino and Latina with Emilia Perez, you know, but still it's like, nah, it's not, you're not including enough, because as Ainsley pointed out, I never heard of that term, but I, you know, heard how people have spoken on and complained about the fact that it's predominantly white movies. You know, it's predominantly, so even if it's a black writer, you're not seeing the writer. So if this black writer decided to have an all white cast or predominantly white cast, then those are the movies that they're focusing on. So I'm not really seeing any, you know, them being diverse enough where, and to prove that they're not diverse enough, and I know all of y'all remember this is why Denzel Washington and Halle Berry won that year, because they kept hearing publicly that they were not diversified enough. So let's now throw the pacifier in their mouth and award a black male and a black female actor and actress, and that should hold us over for the next 2 decades. And no, we're not watching this. You know, we're not watching. When Pastor Steph sent us the list, I was looking at it like, well, what kind of non-popcorn eating is about to happen here? Because this is like, I am so not excited to sit and watch any of this, you know. And despite, like I said, Conclave being a lot more intriguing and interesting than I would have expected it to, but they need to highlight movies that are going to, you know, be eye-catching. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now, but there have been a lot of movies that came out in the year of 2024 that were really good. And it's like, and this got overlooked. Yeah. This got right, because y'all are our color, right? Okay, so it's sad. It's sad.
All righty. Vivian says, I heard that before, and I'm not nowhere near into the Oscars. So Ainsley, Vivian has heard that, you know, that terminology about the Oscars. And Anika says, in response to how very people of color don't win awards. So I guess she's saying, no, they're not diverse enough. Renee, based on the movies we have reviewed in 2024 and what we're reviewing tonight, in comparison to those movies, are they diverse enough, the Oscars?
Diverse enough? No. I feel like let me just throw them a little something. So we're not gonna do a whole, we're gonna throw the Latinas a little something, and we're gonna throw the transgenders a little something. Not fully transgender, but it's a man with a womb. You know, and like Shantice was saying with the Denzel and Halle, you took the movies where they both were derogatory.
Yes.
You didn't give Denzel the Oscar for Malcolm X,
right,
or Hurricane Carter. You gave it to him for being a dirty cop. You gave Halle the award because she took her clothes off. You didn't give it to her when she did Queen, Alec Tally's family movie. You didn't give it to her when she did Losing Isaiah. Yes. You gave it to her when she took her clothes off and laid down with them.
Right. With Billy Bob. When she laid with Billy Bob. That
right.
So diversified, not enough. You can't just keep you throwing crumbs at us, and the few that are getting the crumbs, they're accepting it, and we're accepting it because we're like, oh, finally they gave it to us. But no, it's about time they gave it to us, but give it to us for something positive, where we're being shown in a positive light.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My vote is no. Plain and simply no. I posed the question the way I did for a reason. We reviewed several movies throughout 2024 that were definitely worthy of an Oscar nomination. Their actors and actresses were definitely worthy of Oscar nominations. The cinematography was definitely worthy of Oscar nomination. I can see, like Shanti said, when I went to send everybody the list of movies that are actually up for nomination, I did not see one of them there. How did you miss all of these? Not one. Not one. We didn't get any of the movies that we thought were worthy in actor, actress, cinematography, directing. We didn't get them in any area. None of them. How is it that you missed every single one of them? And this is one of the reasons why, and I'm going to be very honest, that I did not suggest, and we probably did not suggest, that we review movies that were not ethnic or brown or our color. Because my thing is, they already getting their notice. Now, let's review us. And let's hold it up to the nominations that are coming up come the new year. And lo and behold, come the new year, even in these three, I'm like, why would I vote for Emilia Perez or The Substance? Yo, really? What we watched over the year, none of those beat out The Substance.
Yeah, I can't believe that's even Oscar nominated.
What'd you say?
I can't believe that's Oscar nominated, you know.
That's what I'm saying. This gory garbage got nominated, and all of the worthy movies and none of the series we looked at were nominated. None of their actors or actresses were nominated, and they were definitely award worthy. So no, it's not. Let me see some of these comments. Vivian says, I wish our people would not even show up and participate in the Oscars, like y'all can have it.
Yes.
And Anika says, and then when we have our own awards, they still get meh. Yes, absolutely. We've been talking about forever. Why don't we just make our own? Why are we looking for their scraps and crumbs? Let's get out. We make the money, y'all.
Yes.
Get together and y'all rent out your theater. You go ahead and you salute your own. We're not doing that. We keep waiting for these crumbs to be thrown our way. We're not standing up, and that's why I said no. We're not gonna do this. So here we go. Now it's time to vote. We got Emilia Perez. Kick it or click it, Ainsley.
I'll click it.
Okay, all righty.
I will click it.
Okay, click it or kick it, Shantice.
I can't lift my foot up that high tonight. So I'm gonna say ski daddle, kick it, get it out of here.
Okay. Okay. For Emilia Perez, despite the fact that I did not deal with the music could have gone in the garbage for me. The storyline and the acting, I say click it. I think it was worth looking at. Not Oscar nominate, not now.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you play.
I would say if you can stomach the music and the dancing, go ahead and click it.
That's something you play while you're cleaning.
What'd you say?
That's something you play while you're cleaning the house. You know, like you play music. You could probably just have that playing in the background.
That's funny.
Yeah. The Substance, Ainsley, kick it or click it.
Kick it, gotta go. Kick it, man. That shouldn't be even in the talk, man.
Okay.
Got to go.
Shantice, kick it. Ainsley says gotta go. Click it or kick it.
I say click it only because of the message that it's sending, as far as you're not going to be able, outside of the stupidity of your spine now taking over.
I'm surprised at you on that one.
Yeah, just the whole concept of you're not going to be able to change the fact that you're going to get older. You know, you're not going to be able to change the fact that your prime is going to end. That's why it's called your prime, because it has an expiration date. And stop allowing yourself and outside people to now dictate how you feel about yourself, to now where you kill yourself. But you killed herself. She killed herself.
Touche.
Right, you know, we kill yourself. So that's why I say click it, because of the bigger message within it. It had its real slow moments, but thank God the slow moments was at the end, because had the slow moments been in the beginning and in like the first 30 minutes, I don't know if I would have made it through.
Okay. When it comes to the substance, I say kick it as hard and as far as you can. I don't care nothing about no message. I don't care nothing about whether it was in the middle, the beginning, or the end. Get rid of it. It was straight trash. And unfortunately, that's why I'm, for the same reason why you say click it, is why I say kick it. Because you could have taken an opportunity to, you know, give it a nice, good message, but instead you went for gore. Bye. See you later. Conclave. Kick it or click it. Renee, what you got for us?
Click, 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 and click.
Okay. All righty. Ainsley, click it or kick it. Conclave.
So as long as you can understand what they're saying, yeah, you can click it.
Only a man would find the other version in another language.
Yeah, only you understand what they're saying.
No, I'm sorry.
It's a click.
No. I'm going a step further. Only a man would find the movie in another version and try to sit through it.
Right. Because I would have been immediately have to step up, like, oh,
and assume what he's saying.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm thinking it's Italy. It's Rome. It's the Catholics, right? It's Italy. So I expect, okay, there's gonna be some Italian, you know, but at some point they're gonna talking all English. But I kept falling asleep, so I kept thinking, okay, maybe if they started talking English, I'd fall asleep on it. I kept going back.
No.
Another 20 minutes, it was no English. I fell asleep. You know, this kept happening. It kept happening. So I got halfway through it. I'm like, let me just go ahead with trying to figure it out.
No, a woman would have tried it for the first 15 minutes and then be like, yo, Steph, what is going on?
Pastor Steph, where were your antennas?
Right, you chose this. Right. No way.
Right.
A woman would have sat through this. Only a man would turn it on, get the Italian version, and not go, well, maybe I'm looking at the wrong movie.
See, that's dedication version for you right there. I was dedicated. I said, I'm going to do this.
I'm not that dedicated. Then.
I was dedicated.
Nah. That's the difference between men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Y'all are Martians.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Shantice, Ainsley, you say click it as long as you can find it in the English version.
Yeah.
It's on Peacock, y'all.
Oh my goodness. Peacock has the straight English version. Okay, Shantice, click it or kick it. The Conclave.
I say click it.
Okay,
I liked it.
All righty. Okay, so we got three click-its. Number 4, I say click. It was very good. You know, it was really a good movie. Nice message, the whole 9 yards. So we got a unanimous click it. And this is the only movie of the 3 that I could see being entered into the Oscars as a nomination.
I agree.
The other 2, y'all can go kick it somewhere. So it's been great.
And you know
Next
what's
week,
funny? I'll say this. After I watched the Conclave, and after the Conclave, it was, I would say, probably like 11. So I was like, I might be able to eke out another movie, and I couldn't get the substance anywhere. And I was like, okay, not meant for me to watch it. Good night. I guess I'm glad I did it.
Oh yeah.
You ain't miss nothing.
Yeah, you ain't missing. You all right. You good. You all right.
Yes. Bye.
I saw the picture of Demi Moore with her swole up lip. I said, no, I don't want to see
that. Yeah. She did a decent job, but everything else, okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna push that to the side. Next week, we'll let you know which movies are available for us to watch that are streaming now that we can review. Check us out. Make sure you listen out for us and let us, and hang out with us. We'll let you know nice and early as possible, as to which movies we will be reviewing, God spares, next week, Thursday. Same time, same bad channel. But in the interim, tomorrow morning, right here on It's Due Time with Pastor Steph, we will be coming your way. Yes, live. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you're notified each and every time we are on. But listen, before we go, I gotta remind you that come tomorrow night, God spares, at 8:30 p.m. right here on A Closer Walk Christian Talk Show YouTube channel. You got your girls, Shantice and V. With all due respect, with Shantice and V, make sure you check them out at 8:30. You will not be disappointed. We got a whole lot of stuff going on right on this very channel. So again, press that subscribe button. Thank you so much for joining us, Renee. We were so glad to have you.
Yeah, girl.
Anytime.
You come back and visit us. Listen out again. We will be letting you know on It's Due Time with Pastor Steph which movies we will be reviewing next week, God spares. Until then, we love you. Thank you.
Good night.